jams seem intimidating, but trust me, they're not as hard as you think. In just a few days, I made better this way for Brackeys Game Jam 2025.1. Here's why you should enter one too. So what are game jams really? Aha! At their core, a game jam is a short-form competition, often 1 day to a week in length, where an individual or team competes against other developers to win. Some popular game jams include Ludum Dare, GMTK, and Brackeys Game Jam, among many others. A great website to find jams to enter is itch.io, where you can find game jams almost all year round. So what are the benefits of a game jam? By entering a game jam, you are giving yourself a solid, hard deadline to make something. Out of all the other benefits, this is the one that I find the best. Maybe this is because I like procrastination, but I believe that most also suffer from this problem. Another major benefit of a game jam is the community. Game jams give you the opportunity to connect with other developers. Tell them about your problems and help them with theirs. It really lets you know just how many people are out there, enjoying the same things you do. One of the biggest rewards I've gotten so far is the comment section on my page. The third and final big benefit to game jamming is that they give you a theme. This removes some of the guesswork from making a game and gives you a clear main idea to build off of. In turn, your game will be more focused and streamlined, and your mind will be left clearer to think about other things. Furthermore, marketing is not as large an issue as most of the time the jam platform does the work for you. Putting all this aside, let's look into the development of Better This Way, my first ever game jam entry. Creating Better This Way, while it's far from perfect and definitely didn't win Brackeys Game Jam, was still an insanely fun and motivating experience. So how did I make a game in just a week? For starters, I have a life, so it wasn't a week. I only worked for about 8 hours in total on this project, and most of that was me not realizing just how little time I had and just making art. Big mistake number one.
Oh no!
Look, I hate planning. You probably hate planning, but trust me, winging it is a great way to end up with a game that makes 0 sense. So, I sat down and scribbled down the essentials, main game ideas and functions. The story, a rogue AI takes over a facility. Fitting for the game's theme, nothing can go wrong. The style, a top-down 2D platformer of the puzzle variety, where you navigate interconnected rooms, eventually aiming to deactivate the AI within the server room. The cool features, notes scattered around rooms with hints for pin-pad puzzles, multiple floors accessed via elevators, bullet-hell turret rooms where you dodge for your life. Of course, the grand vision and the final game are two very different things, but we'll get to that. After 30 minutes of planning, I called it done. You know what's way easier than programming? Drawing pretty pictures. So instead of, making the actual game, I decided to spend hours making pixel art. Now, I've done 3D art in Blender, but 2D art? That was new territory. So after some googling, I landed on GIMP, a free program that people either love or hate. I started by making a giant sprite sheet with everything I thought I might need. Walls, floors, tables, doors, you name it. Then using Unity, I chopped them up into individual assets. At this point, I had 0 gameplay, but at least my game looked like a game, which is totally what matters, right? With art out of the way, it was time to do what I had been avoiding, making the game actually work. What I'm showing you right now is the finished Unity project. It's not pretty, but I'm proud, so let's break this down. The first thing I tackled was movement. Pretty important, unless you want a game where the player just stands there. I used a bit of trigonometry, yes, that thing from high school, to make sure the character always faced the right way when moving. Turns out math isn't useless after all. Who knew? Next, I made prefabs for everything. Walls, tables, chairs, those little desk clutter items that make the world feel real. Simple objects were fairly straightforward, they just needed colliders, but interactable objects like pin pads and doors were a whole different challenge. Here's where things got complicated. I needed a way for the player to interact with doors, notes, and other objects. First, I made a generic interaction script to detect when the player walked up to something. Then, I wired up the game manager to display button prompts and UI. Finally, I copied that script onto every interactable object, wrote the individual code, which is more complicated than the sounds, and hooked them up using Unity's event system. This was the process that took the most time out of anything. Finally, with all the hard work done, it was time for the easy part. Assemble everything into an actual game. I made all the rooms, puzzles, and obstacles, then added a menu screen and win conditions. Everything was looking good. Everything was fine. Until it wasn't. Having just installed Unity 6 for this project, I had yet to test the build system. And guess what? Big mistake number 2.
Oh no!
Never trust Unity's build system last minute. The build failed after almost 30 minutes. Turns out I was missing 2.6 gigabytes worth of Visual Studio modules. With 1 hour left, my heart stopped. Was this the end? Miraculously, the download finished with only a few minutes until the deadline. I hit upload with a minute to spare. It was finally done. Since launch a little over a week ago, Better This Way has gotten over 30 ratings and 35 plus comments. And honestly, seeing people play and enjoy something I have made has been the best part of this whole experience. So, if you've ever thought about joining a game jam, just do it. Doesn't matter if it's your first game or your 100th. Just make something. And when you do, drop a comment and tell me about it. I'd love to check it out. Hydraulic Studios, over and out.